All right, let's dive right in. We're talking about that wild, intense time in life, late adolescence. You know, that period full of huge dreams, a ton of pressure, and what feels like a million decisions that are supposed to map out your entire future.
Ah, yes, the classic question. What do you want to be when you grow up? It follows you around from kindergarten all the way to graduation. And let's be honest, for most of us, it stops being a fun question pretty quickly and starts feeling like a major source of stress. The pressure to just know what you're doing next is, well, it's a lot. But what if we looked at it a different way? Psychologists see this as more than just a stressful choice. They see it as one of the most important jobs we have as young adults. It's a fundamental part of growing up, figuring out who you are in a world with what feels like a bazillion different options. The legendary psychologist Erik Erikson really boiled it all down to one simple but massive question: who am I? It's the absolute core of finding your identity. And when we apply that question to school and our careers, researchers have a special name for it. They call it your educational identity. This is basically your own personal mix of values, what you're genuinely curious about, and what you prefer for your own education. You can think of it like an internal compass that's trying to point you in the right direction for you. So, where does this identity even come from? Well, it's not just one thing that clicks into place. Research shows it's actually built from three key psychological pieces that all work together. So let's break them down. First step, we have commitment. Now, this isn't just about picking a major. It's about how solid you feel in that choice, how much you feel like it's a true reflection of you. It's that gut feeling that says, yes, this path, this actually feels right for me. Next is exploration. This is the doing your homework phase. It's like you're shopping around for your own future, right? You're visiting different schools, you're looking up careers, you're talking to people who do different things, and all the while you're asking, could I see myself doing that? And number 3 is self-doubt. Oh yeah, we all know this one. It's that little voice in the back of your head, that constant worry that asks, did I make the right choice? Is this really what I'm supposed to be doing? A little bit of that is totally normal, but when it's persistent, it can be a real roadblock. Okay, so here's where it gets really interesting. A recent study took a look at how these 3 building blocks, commitment, exploration, and self-doubt, come together. And what they found is that most students tend to fit into one of 3 main profiles. Let's run through them. First, you've got the achievement profile. These students have high commitment and high exploration with low self-doubt. They're confident in their choice, but they're still curious and open to learning more. Then there's moratorium. These folks are pretty much average across the board. They're right in the thick of it, actively trying to figure things out and feeling all the uncertainty that comes with it. And finally, you have the closure profile. These students have high commitment, but they've pretty much stopped exploring. They made a decision, and that's that. So that begs a pretty big question, right? When students make that huge leap to college, do these profiles change? I mean, you'd think so. It's a time of massive upheaval. But get this, the study found something pretty shocking. Over a year and a half, a period that covered this big transition, a whopping 2/3 of students, 66.7%, stayed in the exact same profile they started in. So it turns out, for most people, the way they approach these big decisions is more stable than you'd think. And that's a really big deal, because which one of these profiles you're in has a huge impact on your well-being and how well you do in school. And this is really the heart of it all. This isn't just some abstract psychological theory. The study actually linked these profiles to real-world outcomes, like your grades and your mental health. So no big surprise here, the students in the achievement profile, the ones with that magic combo of high commitment and high exploration, they did the best. They had better academic performance and fewer psychological problems like anxiety or depression. That really seems to be the sweet spot. On the other hand, students in that moratorium profile, the ones stuck in the middle, they really struggled more. Being in that constant state of uncertainty was linked to, you guessed it, poorer school performance and more mental health challenges. It just goes to show being stuck in that figuring it out phase can really take a toll. But here's the kicker, the most surprising part of the whole study. The closure profile, those students who were super committed but had stopped looking at other options, they also had poor academic functioning. This tells us something so important. Just making a choice and digging in your heels isn't enough. It seems like that continuous exploration is a crucial ingredient for actually succeeding.
So, when we put all these pieces together, what's the big takeaway? It's pretty clear that this whole journey of finding your educational identity is super complex, and the specific route you take can have a massive effect on your life. I think the most powerful lesson here is that the process is just as important as the final decision. Just settling on something to make the uncertainty go away might feel good in the moment, but this research shows that actively exploring, staying curious, that is what's really connected to being successful and feeling good.
And that leaves us with one last really important question to chew on. If just locking in a choice isn't always the best thing, how can we, as parents, as educators, as a society, get better at supporting young people on this journey? How do we encourage them to keep exploring and to see that exploration not as a weakness or indecisiveness, but as a totally vital part of finding a future that's a genuine fit?